Today, I will show you why you should use the strategy design pattern. I will show you a real-world example in C# so you can see how easy it is to implement. Let's go. Imagine you've created a CRM application. You have a list of contacts on the contact page that you can export in different file formats. For example, if you select JSON, you will get a JSON file. If you select CSV, you will get a CSV file. And if you select XML, you will get an XML file. Let's take a look at a sequence diagram. A user asks for a list of contacts in a specific format by making a request to the contact model. The contact model uses the export service to create a file in the requested format with the contact data. Once the file is created, the contact model sends this back to the user. Now let's take a closer look at the code. In the contact model class, there is a method called onGetDownloadFile which handles the request. It then calls the export method in the export service class. This method needs to know which file format to use and the list of contacts to export. Depending on the file format selected, the export method will create a file in that format using methods such as export to CSV for CSV file, export to JSON for a JSON file, and export to XML for an XML file. If the file format selected is not supported, the method will throw an exception. While the code in this export service works fine, it has few issues. The export service class has multiple responsibilities as it handles different file formats. Plus, if you want to support a new file format, like PDF for instance, we need to update the export service class, which can result in breaking the existing code. To fix these issues, we can refactor the export service class to use the strategy design pattern. The strategy design pattern defines a family of algorithms, encapsulates each one, and makes them interchangeable. The pattern lets the algorithm vary independently from clients that use it. If the definition is a bit fuzzy now, don't worry, it will make sense later. So let's take a look at the class diagram of the pattern. So this pattern has three main parts: the strategy, which is the interface that defines the algorithm; the concrete strategy, which is a specific implementation of the strategy interface; and the context, which is the object that uses the algorithm and keeps a reference to the strategy object. The strategy design pattern has two key benefits. Firstly, it allows us to change algorithms at runtime without changing the code itself. And secondly, it promotes better code organization by separating different algorithms into their classes. So in our case, the strategy will be an interface called iExporter, and the concrete strategies will be a JSON exporter class, an XML exporter class, and a CSV exporter class. They all implement the iExporter interface, and the context will be the exporter service class, which will be used by the page model or a controller if you use MVC. So now let's translate this into code. To begin, we create the iExporter interface. It has a single method, export, that takes a list of contacts and returns a file result. Next, we need to create concrete implementation of this interface for each file format we want to support, like CSV exporter, JSON exporter, and XML exporter. So each class will have its own implementation for exporting the data. So I will copy the existing code and move it to the right location. So let's copy the export for the CSV exporter. Let's do the same for the JSON exporter. And finally, let's move the code for the XML exporter. So next, we need to update the export service. We can remove all the methods related to export Let's clean the interface as well. And now I'm going to declare a dictionary. So I will use a dictionary to map file types to the corresponding iExplorer implementations. Each entry in the dictionary consists of a file type, which is the key, and an instance of the corresponding iExplorer implementation, which is the value. So, for example, the CSV key maps to a new instance of the CSV Explorer. The JSON key maps to a new instance of the JSON Explorer class, and the XML key maps to a new instance of the XML Explorer class. The export method searches for the correct iExplorer instance in the dictionary using the file type provided, and then uses the export method on that instance to export the contact list. So that's it. Let's run the application to see if it's still working. So as you can see, the export is still working. There is one improvement we can make in the export service class. Instead of having a concrete explorer in the dictionary, we can take advantage of dependency injection. First, let's update the iExplorer interface. I add a property name file extension. So this getter tells what file format the Explorer handles. So let's update all the concrete explorers so they can provide the extension they handle. So for the CSV Explorer, it's CSV. And for the JSON Explorer, it's JSON. And for the XML Explorer, of course, it's XML. So now I'm going to register all the explorers with the dependency injection container. So basically, I'm telling the DI container to register several implementations of the iExplorer interface. Now in the export service, I'm going to add a constructor which will receive all the implementation of iExplorer through injection. So now I can populate the dictionary so we know the key thanks to the file extension property. So now I can remove the previous dictionary initialization. So with this change, now if we have a new implementation of the iExplorer, we don't have to update the export service class. We don't have to touch it. So now let's build and run the project again. As you can see, it's still working. So by using the strategy design pattern, each responsibility is separated in different files, and we can support a new file format by creating a new class instead of modifying the existing ones. That's it for this tutorial. If you get any value from this, like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you soon.